Now let's move straight to spreadsheet without wasting much time. And I think spreadsheet with one question paper, we will cover almost all the topics that needs to be done. So 50 marks for spreadsheet. Sheet management, I believe that one is collectible for everybody. Merge and center, shading, orientation, all these are collectible marks. So I will move to data validation and then count ifs and others. I promise not to spend more than 30 minutes on spreadsheet. Right. Let me take the June paper, 2024, 3 budgets. Right. Now, merge and center. You know, if you're asked to merge, you just select and then you see merge and center here. Like here is merge. And then also rep text. Rep text meaning that everything should be fully visible. So we rep text and then we merge and center. Right, so merge and center and also rep text. So you have to take note of that. That is part of the sheet management. Merge and center and then rep text. Then again for grade 12, they always ask questions regarding filling with a gradient fill. Now for gradient fill, when you click on it, you right click and then you see format cell. Or alternatively, you can just say fill or shading. Fill or you can say shade. When you give it a fill color or shading. But then the best one, the format cell, when you right click, you give you format cell. That's the first part of the question that they will always ask. Or you go to search and say format cell. Then format cell, we have the number format, we have the alignment, whereby they can ask you to change horizontally and vertically centered. Now they have added this also, distributed indent. Watch out for that. And then they will give you the indent distribution. Then also, they will ask you a question about the borders, placing a border around it, which is part of the format cell. Then you select maybe outline border with double line. Filling, that is shading. The normal filling. And then we have the pattern color and pattern style. So maybe pattern color and then the pattern style, which every pattern style has a name. Then this is the one they normally ask you guys, fill effect. With a gradient fill, whether 2 colors, whether diagonal up or from corner. They like asking this type of question. That is about the shading. Again, the text direction. You get a text direction from the alignment. If in the examination you don't remember it, also you can get it from format. So you just right click and say format cell, or you can just type format cell, then you'll be able to get to format cell. Then that is part of the alignment, and then you will see orientation. With the orientation, the degrees can be given to you, or the text direction that you can choose to apply the orientation. But there are some orientation that has a specific name. For example, when you go to the alignment, you will see AB, which is orientation. So we have angle counterclockwise. They can ask you that, or they can ask you angle clockwise, or rotate up. So watch out for that type of rotation. All these are part of the basics. Then the other basic thing that they normally ask is freeze pane. Now, they can ask you to ensure that from row 1 to row 6 is always up. That's it's been locked up. So that when you scroll down, row 7 will start vanishing or diminishing. So you go to the next row, which is row 7, you select it, and then you go to freeze pane. You search for freeze pane. So meaning from 7 will start vanishing when I scroll down. That means 1 to 6. So meaning that if they want only row 1 and 2 to be up, you must go to row 3 and then you go to freeze pane. So that's how we do the freeze pane. Freeze pane. And you can get freeze pane from, also you go to view, you will see freeze pane. Right. So that's freeze pane. You can freeze row or you can freeze column. They can even ask us maybe from column J, from A to I should be locked. So you go to J and then we go to freeze pane. Then we choose freeze pane. So when we scroll to the right, A to I will always be there. So not only freezing the row, you can also freeze column. So that is part of the freeze pane. And then the row height, you right click and then you choose row height. They can ask you to change the row height. You right click on the row, then you see row height or column width. And you can also see the format cell also. So watch out for that. Right. Tab color, you right click and then you see tab color to change the tab color. Or you right click and then you choose deleting and protecting also. They can ask you questions like that. They can also ask you to link to another sheet. You can do that so that you link this sheet to another document. Right. Again, they can also have hyperlink here. They can have a shape already here, and then they will ask you to hyperlink it. So you can have a shape, and then you hyperlink also to another worksheet. Now, that's all about the basic formatting. The next one is conditional formatting. Conditional formatting, that's the formatting based on certain conditions. Now, the basic one is, let's say column G, you want all the food budget to have color scales. So we go to conditional formatting, new rule. Now we have the first one, which is the color scale. It can be 2 color scale or 3 color scale. And then the question can tell you if it's color scale, whether you must use percent or not, or number. So they can tell you to use numbers or range. So maybe the first value to be maybe 500, the second one will be 1,500, and the maximum one to be maybe 100,000. Then you change the colors. That's the color scale. Then we also have another conditional formatting with new rule. It is not color scale, but then it's data bar. Then also you can choose the specific, whether number or percentile or formula. And then you choose the lowest and maximum. Maybe lowest is 300 and maximum is 10,000. Then the color, whether the bar should be gradient fill with the colors, and then whether you need a border around it, and then the color that you want to choose. And then the bar direction, if you want from left to right or right to left. So you must watch out for this. That's the data bar. And another conditional formatting that they also like asking, not data bar, called icon set. Now, when it comes to icon set, there are different icons. We have the flag, we have the 3 signs, we have the symbol, circle, and others. And this one, they will tell you which icon should you choose. Again, you can change the icon from here. Then the values, whether it's value or percentage, you must always remember to change it. If it's only numbers like this, you might change it to number. If it is in percentage, change it to percentile. And remember, if they give you a question that when the full start should be greater or equals to 300, so you select that and then you type the value here. Then the second one, maybe they will say between 301 and 1,000. Then you use the second one, greater than or equals to 301. And then you click OK. Oh, sorry, you must start with a bigger value. Maybe this one should be 1,000 and this one 301. From this, and then this one should be greater or equals to 1,000. And then the next one is when it is less than that. Maybe 500. So here should be less than 500. So basically they will give you a table, then you have to apply that. That's the other conditional formatting. Then the most difficult conditional formatting is what we call the formula. Now they can give you a question by saying that insert or shade column C, or maybe highlight the names whenever the group budget is less than the maximum or the average amount. So meaning, let's say when the average budget here, the person's value here is less than the average budget, then we must highlight the name. So this type of question, you have to use a formula. Formula is used when you are comparing two columns. Here we are comparing this one, budget, and that one, not only one column. So the moment you see two columns, then you know it's a conditional formatting with a formula. It is not just a straightforward question. Now, I'll give an example. So here we are saying when the average. So first of all, we are going to calculate average value there. So we calculate our average. So average is this one. So now the question says we need to highlight all these names in a red font or a red color anytime the value here is less than the average amount. So you select this one that we need to highlight, and then we go to conditional formatting, new rule. So we have to use the last option, which is the formula to determine. Now we are going to put our formula here. What's the formula? That is when this value here, which is H7. Normally I prefer whenever you click on it to have $sign, go and click just after equal sign and remove the $sign. There should not be any $sign. When H7 is less than or equals to the average amount here, then you must format, and then we fill with a red font, or it can be graded fill. And then OK. So any value that is less than the average amount will be highlighted. This is a formula type of what? Conditional formatting. And you must take note, grade 12, they keep on asking this type of question. Another way, they can also ask you maybe highlight all these, the names, whenever, highlight the names whenever the value in column D, which is this one, is a fish. So when the animal class is fish, you must highlight this one. So you click on this. Don't forget to go after the equal sign. If it gives you a problem, delete and type the right one, which is D7 equals to fish. You put fish in inverted comma, or you can type fish in the building block, then you click on it. It's also correct. Then we must fill in with a red font. So we are applying whenever it's fish, it will select with red. Right. So that is also another way of doing conditional formatting. Then we also have the last conditional formatting called top bottom rows. Conditional formatting. When you go there, new row, and then you see top bottom rows, maybe top 10 or top 2 or bottom 2. You want the second one to be highlighted, or we have the top 2% also. So here the top 2, and then you format maybe to this color. So the top 2 will be highlighted. That is another type of conditional formatting. And the last part of conditional formatting is called above and below average, which is also conditional formatting. We have above and below average type of it, whether above or below average, or we have equal or above, equal or below average, the standard deviation, and others. You can also set up conditional formatting like that. Right. So that is all about conditional formatting. Now we move straight to the last part of the formatting, which is called data validation. Data validation. Now, I'm going to apply data validation on, let's say, gender, male and female, to have options to choose from. Now, when I select all these, I want you to click and then you select data validation. You get it from data, and then you see data validation. Alternatively, you can get it also from search and type data validation. Now, if you want to have options where it says allow, we choose list. And then you click on the source to go and put the source of your list. Let's say male and female, M and F. You select it. Then you press enter. So when I click there, it's going to give me MF to select. Sometimes they can give you the range of the M and F somewhere here, then you select it. M and F will be here, then you use it to select. So that is the list. Again, we also have data validation. That is like the validation rule in database. Let's say we want to apply validation rule here. Then we go to data validation. Now here we don't choose allow any value. We choose whole number. If it is whole number, if it's decimals, we choose decimal. So we have whole number and decimal. So this is the whole number. And then we have between or equals to, just like the way we use conditional formatting. So let's say should be greater than 5,000. So we say greater or equals to 5,000. And then we put a validation text inside input message, only values from 5,000 allow. Or you can be asked to choose error alert. So it gives us the rule here. Now, when you are done, sometimes they can ask you to circle invalid text. So you go there, data validation. There's an arrow there, and then you choose circle invalid text, invalid data. So any data that's outside the rule will be circled. Because the question says should be greater or equal to 5,000. Now we have 4,000 there, so to circle all those invalid texts. That is data validation. We have it also for text. We can have data validation rule. And then here we choose text length. We have date also, don't forget them. Text length, maybe text length is 4. So between 4 minimum and then maximum 4. So that is fish. So all those texts that are more than 4 is circled. They are invalid. Only fish is allowed because it's only 4 length, 4 number of characters. And this is data validation. Watch out for that type of questions also. Right. Then the last part will be before we come to the functions, because I wanted to finish all the spreadsheet features before we come to functions. The last part will be spreadsheet feature called subtotal. Let's say you get a question that says, find the average budget for each animal class. Now, every animal class, then we find the average. So meaning we have to group according to the animal class, because the question says for each. So we have to select our data. And then we sort it. So you can get sort from search, or you go to home, you see sort and filter, custom sort. But because the question says we must find the average, we must find average animal type, average grooming budget for each animal type. Because of the keyword for each animal type, we have to sort according to animal type. Then after that, we go to data, subtotal. At each change in, the one that you group according to, which is the animal type. And then the function, the question says we must use a function called average. So we choose average. And the question says average grooming budget. So we go and take grooming budget, not question 3.5. Now, look at these two here. It says replace the current subtotal is fine. Page break between groups. If the question says every group must have its own page, like when you take animal type like the reptiles, they must have their own page. Then you must take this one, page break between groups, and then you click on OK. So you realize that every group, alligator, we have its own average. Anaconda. So here, animal class, we have each of them. I was supposed to choose animal class instead of animal type. That was a mistake because I was supposed to group according to that one. So let me undo and then do it. Let me go back to the data validation. At each change in animal class. Not type, because I was supposed to sort according to animal class. Let me sort again. So I'm going to sort according to animal class, not type, because animal class are the reptiles that we have there. Right. And then I go to subtotal. At each change in will be animal class. And then the subtotals will be done properly for us. So you can see here, amphibians, the average will be there, and then they'll calculate it there. So sometimes you can get a screenshot. The one that you see in bold, that means they group according to that column. And then if you check this row here, the only value here is under the grooming budget. That means they calculated under the grooming budget, and then the function used was average. So sometimes they can give you a screenshot, then they will tell you to perform a spreadsheet feature to display as you can see on the screenshot, which is subtotal feature. Right, so that is all about the spreadsheet feature. As for autofill, they can tell you to number them automatically, like 1 and 2. So you just do that and then you autofill. That's the autofill feature. Right. We move straight to the calculations. Now that we are done with all this, we are moving straight to actual calculations as grade 12 learner, what you should know. Now, remember spreadsheet is 50 marks. The calculations are as follows. Count ifs, sum ifs, or average ifs. There will be questions on that. Whether sum ifs, count ifs, average ifs. And then again, rounding, large, small, large, small, and then average, whereby average and then you use truncate and others. So I'm just going to look at them, and then before I go to the other text functions, please come out with your questions. If you have so many questions, we will talk about chat also. People are talking about chat, we will do that also. Yeah, I like the way you are discussing there. We will look at them also so that you have more options. Now, if the question says calculate the second largest value or the second largest budget value, then we use large. So if they want the largest, the second largest, the third largest, or the fourth largest, we use large. So equal sign large, that's the biggest one. Then you click on FX. The array is the column that contains the values. Let's say we want the second largest food budget. You select everything here. And then K, because the question said the second largest, K will be 2. Right, the third largest, K will be 3. The fourth largest, K will be 4. Now, if the question wants the smallest value, also we use small. Double click on FX and click on FX also. So maybe they want the third smallest value, then K will be 3. The third smallest value. Right, again, we have another function called count blank, counting blank spaces. Like we want those who do not have any food budget, like the empty spaces. So we use count blank, and then you select that column and then enter. So we got the blank spaces to be 6. Those empty spaces, that's the count blank spaces. And then again, there is also another function that you need to know called average. Let's say we want to find the average grooming budget. Average grooming budget. We want to find average grooming budget and then format it to 0 decimal place. So to do that, whenever they are asking for formatting, it's better you make use of, let me remove the freeze pane. It's better you make use of building block. Whenever they are asking for average, then they are asking for a certain number of decimal place. Use the building block. For instance, equal sign average. And then we select all the grooming budget. Then okay, you press enter. Now, when you get your answer, now the question says you must put the answer here and then make it to be 2 decimal place or maybe 0 decimal place. If they say 0 decimal place, you can use int function. And then you click on your answer here and press enter. Right, integer of it, even though it's still given 2 decimal place. So you can just go there and then remove the decimal place, which is not necessary. They want the function. Right, again, if they want it to be 2 decimal place, equal sign round. You can also use round and round up and round down of this one. How many decimal place? 2. To round it, because I formatted, that is why it's showing me that. Right, so basically that is how we use round and the int function together with the average. Find the average calculation in the building block, then you now go and use the int or the round function in the cell where you must put your answer. Right, then we also have count A, counting the number. Whenever you see number, like for instance, if I ask you, find the number of animal types using column C. So here we have to use counter, not count, because count A counts the letters or text. So we got 53. If you use count, it's going to give you error. If I remove the A and I press enter, it's going to give me 0. Count only count numbers, but not text. So when you get 0, let's say you make a mistake, then you go there and put A and press enter. You get the right answer. Right, so that's the difference between count A and others. And then we have mode. Mode is most frequently occurring. So if they say find the most frequently occurring food budget per month, so we use mode, equal sign mode, and then you select the food budget amount and press enter. So the most frequently amount there is 706. That one appeared most. So watch out for mode, count A. Those are the basic ones they will start asking you, and then large and then small. Then range between and then the random numbers. Range between, that is random numbers. So we use range between. Let's say range between 1 and then 100. That's the random number between 1 and then 100. We use the function called range between. Right. So that is the basic calculations. Now, I want to differentiate between count ifs and then the sum ifs. Now, count ifs. For grade 12, use count ifs and then use sum ifs and then use average ifs. Now, when do we use count ifs? When you see a question that says find the number, or sometimes they will say total number based on a criteria. Like for instance, find the total number of those fish classes of animals. So now that's because we want only fish, then the criteria will be fish. Sum ifs, when you see total, or you see total value, or you see total amount, or total age. Now here, whenever you see total number, here, what separates this one is number. Whenever you see number, regardless of total, then it is what count ifs. Now, when you see only total or total value or total amount or total age, then you have to use some ifs based on criteria. Then when you average if, when you say average based on criteria, so we use average ifs. And all of them, your criteria, if it's the text, make use of wild cards. That is star. Now, or you can also use question mark. Now, I want to show you something. Whenever they say, let's say fish, you say star, F-I-S star. Pick the first three letters. If they say amphibian, star, A-M-P star. So that it says contains, it will always give you the answer. Don't try to go and then type fish in full and others. It's going to create confusion because you are likely to get questions whereby, let's say, it's not only fish, but it has fish together with other text. Then that one, you cannot type fish to get the answer right. So I'm going to start solving these questions. Let's say this side, I want to calculate the total number of amphibians that are there. Because the question said the total number, because of total and number, then I have to use count ifs. So equal sign count ifs. Somebody may ask, why am I using count ifs but not count if? Like I said, count ifs, even if the criteria is 1 or 2 or 3, you will still get the answer right. I don't want you to confuse yourself at this stage with a count if and count if. Just use count ifs whenever you see total number. And then you click on FX. Then it says criteria range 1. You select the animal class. That's where it contains the values, that column. And then we are looking for, okay, let's say we are looking for the total number of amphibians. So you say star A-M-P star. Pick the first 3 letters and then okay. So we got 7. A-M-P, that's amphibian, the first 3. But the star before and then star after. Right. Now, what if they say the total number of amphibians that are male? So when you go there, equal sign count ifs. And then the criteria range 1. You select the column that contains the amphibian. Criteria star AMP star. Then criteria range 2, they say that are male. You can find male from column B. You select the values in column B. Male, which is M. If you want to follow the same conversion, star M star. So we got 4 of them. Right. So basically, that's how we do with the count ifs. Now, with the sum ifs, here, let's say the question asks us to find the total food budget for all mammals. The total food budget for all mammals. Because the question is the total food budget. They didn't say the total number. So you cannot use count ifs. It's supposed to be sum ifs. Total food budget. So equal sign, sum ifs. You click on FX. Then it says sum range. Because they say the total food budget, The sum range will be the food budget. You select it. And then the criteria range 1, you select where we find the mammal, just like the sum if. And in the criteria, we are looking for mammal. So star MAL or star MAM, the first 3 letters, star. And then OK. So sum if, this is the sum range, which is the food budget. And this is the criteria range where we can get mammals from. And then the criteria, because we are looking for mammals, we say star MAM star and then enter. When you follow this conversion, there is no count ifs or sum ifs or average ifs that you can never answer. Average ifs is the same thing. Equal sign. Let's say the question wants to find the average food budget for all the fish class. Equal sign, average if, average ifs. Then average range, which is the same as the sum range. You select the food budget. Criteria range 1, where we see the animals, you select them. And we are looking for fish, star, FIS, star. There we go. So average ifs and then sum ifs, they are similar, but count ifs, they don't deal with numerical values. So take note of that. Sometimes they can say greater than that or less than that or that. So watch out for that. Where they count ifs also. Right. You can also get a question that says between. Let's say the question wants you to find the total food budget. That is between 500 and then 3,000. The total food budget is between 500 and 3,000. So we have to use the sum ifs because it's the total. Equal sign, sum ifs. And then the sum range will be the food budget. Then you come to the criteria range 1. It's still the same food budget. When you see between, because the question is between 500 and 3,000. So whenever you see between, now when you see between 500 and 3,000, that means greater than or equals to 500. And then the second criteria is less than or equals to 3,000. There are 2 criteria. First one is greater or equal to 500. That's between 500. And then the last one is less than or equals to 3,000. Right. So we do that. So criteria range 1, we say greater than or equals to 300. Then you go to criteria range 2. You select the same column, the food budget, and then this one should be less than or equals to 5,000. So you can still use one column to achieve our answer. Whenever you see between, you split them, use greater or equals to the first value, and then the second one will be less than or equals to the second value, where it is ending. So that is all about the sum ifs and count ifs. Right. Now, these are the basic, you always get them there. Now we move straight to what we call the text functions, and then we look at nested if, date and time. And if we have time, we will also look at the chat or the combo box, which we are not going to spend more time. Now, the text function. And I always get questions from learners talking about specific text function. You can see every question paper, there will be text function. There are basic ones, which I'm going to start with some of the basic ones, then we move to the next one. Um, the text function, I think I'll get some from question 4. The one with the developer, which is June 2024. You can use June 2024 to practice when you are doing this one. Like here, some ifs. It says the total food budget for all mammals, like we did that here, after 2015. Let's check this question before I move on to the text function, which is 3 budget. And it says in cell E3, the total food budget for all mammals that arrived after 2015. So the first criteria is mammals, the second one is after 2015. Now, all mammals after 2015. So we use some ifs. And then the sum range, they say the total food budget. So you select the food budget. Criteria 1, range 1. You look for where the mammals are, which is column D. And then the criteria mammals, which is star, MAM, star. Then criteria range 2, they say after 2015. That means the date, arrival date. Then the criteria after 2015, that means the last date of 2015. So you say greater than the last day of 2015. Don't forget to type it exactly as you see for the date, the year, slash the month, slash the day. The last day of 2015, 2015, slash December, slash 31st. And then okay. So we got that one right. Greater than the last day of 2015. And then the mammal, we say star, MAM, star. So I just wanted to show you how to do this question. And then they say the tab color to any orange color. Now the tab color, we did that. Page setup to fit in one page. Page setup, you get it from the page layout, or you can search and say page setup, fit in one page. When you go to scale to fit, and then you see fit to one page, then you go to OK. Right, they can tell you to scale or to change anything from that side. Setting the print area and others, you get them. Those are the basic ones. Also, they can ask you to show the grid lines and then things to display on the screen. Right, now, I'm still looking for a question regarding, yeah, this is the calculated or the budget calculations. A zoo manager is preparing the annual budget for 2025. In I7, the amount for that one based on annual food, and then this one plus an increase of 2.5. Now we are increasing this one. So the original percentage is 100% plus that 2.225 percentage. So I7, we need to put the formula here. They say we are adding these two, which is equal sign, you open bracket, this one plus that one. We are increasing it, so times, you open bracket, the original percentage, which is 100% plus the 2.25 that they gave you, percent. So we are increasing, that means the 100% plus that original percentage times that one. Right, so that's how we do. Whenever you are doing percentage increase, you add it to the original 100%, then you multiply by that value. Right. I want us to go to the text function. Now, here is a typical for text function. Now, and it says, you have the number there 087, and then they have plus 27 followed by space, followed by the number here. Now you can see the number, they have removed the 0 from it. So meaning that they use the right function to remove it. So first of all, we use the building block. We can make use of the building blocks. We put plus 27, so we put equal sign, inverted comma, plus 27, then you close the inverted comma, and you press enter. Because it's a text, so you just say equal sign, you put the inverted comma, plus 27, you close the inverted comma. And then they're followed by the space. Space also equal sign, inverted comma, press the space bar, you close the inverted comma, then enter. Then the next one, they remove from the phone numbers here. I think this is the different question paper. No, it's 4 excursions. Yeah, I got it wrong. 4 excursions, this one. So, yeah, this is the one. 4 excursions. Right. So we say equal sign, inverted comma, plus 27, you close it and press enter. Then you go here again, equal sign, inverted comma, space, you close it. And then we use the right function to extract the text, or what do you call this, contact number, excluding the 0. That's why we are using the right function. We don't need the 0, so we have to start from the right hand side. So we say equal sign, right? Click on FX, the text, you click on this text. How many characters? 9. Because we don't need that 0, so it should be 9. Now, after this, we combine all these together. So we go to equal sign, click on the plus 27, followed by shift and 7, which is ampersand to concatenate, to join them. Space, followed by shift 7 to join this one also. Then you press enter. So this should be the right answer regarding this question. Right. And then again, like you can see here, data validation was also there. And then if and or function, will come to that one also. Now let's go and check question 7, whether there was any question regarding the test function here. This is the subtotal. You can see difficult mix. That means they group according to reproduction in captivity. They group according to reproduction in captivity, and then they find the maximum value here. Note the sorting applied. So this one is 7 production. We can also look at it. I like after teaching the topic, then we solve a question. Right. So that is the 7 production. You can also try your hands on that one when they give you a screenshot like this. Difficult max, that means the function is max. And they group all the difficult. So they sorted according to this column. And the calculation was done on the max column. Right. Let me check other question also regarding the text functions. Now, you can also have a text function whereby maybe the name and surname are all kept together. And then they want you to extract, which is the compound text function. Check 2023 question paper. There was a question like that. June 2023. Okay, the June 2023 question paper was just a combination. Let's solve it and see. It says each athlete will receive a special entry card, entry number, the number between 1 and 50. Whenever you see between 1, we use range between. Range between, whenever you see something like that in a text function. First 2 letters we use left, and then the registration number. So here we open 3 marathon. Right. So the question says we need to first of all take the random number between 1 and 50. So we go to the building block and start solving them step by step. Please. Random number between 1 and 50, we use range between. Equal sign, range between. Click on FX. The start is 1, the bottom is 50. And then you go to the next column. They say the first 2 letters of the name. Now you can see the athlete name is here. So the first 2 letters. Equal sign left. Then you click on the name. Number of characters 2, and then OK. And then again, the registration number of the athlete. We have the registration number here. So you can even put it in the building block, equal sign, click on the registration number and enter, so that you have everything in the building block. So here we can now, when you have all of them in the building block, now you combine them. How do we combine? We use the concatenate equal sign. You click on the first one, then you press shift and then 7. You click on the second, shift 7, then you click on the third one, and then you press enter to join them together. Sometimes they can tell you everything should be in uppercase. Then you go there and say equal sign upper. Then you click on your answer and enter. If it says lowercase, you just say equal sign lower. Then you click on your answer, enter, it will change to lowercase. So take note of that. You solve all of them in the building block. Then after that, where the answer says you must put them, you go and place it there also. That is another form of text function. That's combining them, left, right, len. If they are talking about the number of characters, we use what we call len. Take note. If they are saying the number of characters, we use len. Equal sign len. Of that, it gives you the number of characters. If they say find the position, then we use the find or search function. which we are going to look at that type of question also. Right. I have with me here also June question paper. I think it was 2022. June 2022 question, the text function. Yeah, it's also another category of the text function. It says the name and surname are put together. That's 4 bookings. Then you must remove only the name. So 4 bookings. Now, this one, they put the name and surname all together in one column or one cell. So you can see here the name and surname are kept together here. We assume that this one is the name, Tandy is the name, and this one is the surname. Now they are all put together. Now, if you have a compound text in one cell, now I want to put it here. Whenever you have a compound text in one cell, compound text, in one cell, like maybe name and surname. Then if you are removing from the left-hand side, let's say here, this one is the left, the name one. If you have this one and this one is the one on the right-hand side. So if you want the one on the left-hand side, so the one on the left-hand side, please don't forget this. You will need left and then you will need find. This type of question, they will always ask you. If you are taking from the right-hand side, then you need right, and then you need learn, and then you need find. Then if you are taking from anywhere, from the middle, anywhere, then you need mid, you need learn, and then you need find. I'm going to give that 3 scenario so that you will see, making it simpler in the building block for you. Right. Let's look at this. 4 bookings. Tandy is the name and it's on the left-hand side. So like this question wants us to display only the name. Because it is on the left-hand side, then we need to use left and then only find. So we have to go to the building block and use find function. Then you click on FX. Now, what are we finding? We are finding what is separating between Tandy and then Tlaka, which is the space. So in the space that is separating the two. So find text, we press the space bar. It could be dash, it could be any text. Then within which text from this side, and then you click OK. So we got 7. Now, after that, we come and put our answer here. Equal sign, left. The text is this one. Anytime you see text, click on the cell you are referring to. Number of characters, the answer that you got from find. But then you must say -1. Why -1? We don't want to include the space because that find one, it got to the space value. It counted up to the space. So we don't want to include the space, so we say -1. Right, that is when you are taking from the left-hand side. Now, what about if you are taking from the right-hand side? Let's say the surname. Then, like I said, you need the right, you need the find, and then you need the learn. So here we need learn function also. Learn of the same cell. Then you come and use right function, right? the text will be this cell. The number of characters will be the value for the length, the bigger value, minus the smaller value. You click on the bigger value minus the smaller value, and then OK. That will be the number of characters. So the value for the length minus the value for the find when you are taking from the right-hand side. What if we are taking from the middle? What if this tracker here has a bracket open and then bracket closed, separating them? So instead of tracker to be without, now there's a bracket that is separating them. You can see bracket. So we cannot use right function, because when you use right, it will start with the bracket close. So in this situation, we need the mid function. Then our find now will not be the space, but what are we finding will be the bracket open, because we move from the bracket open here, not the space. So our find now will be the bracket open. Then when we come and we use the mid function, why mid function? Because tracker is in the middle. It is not at the end, neither is it at the beginning. So we use mid, and then the text will be this one. The start number, we are starting from the space. So the start number will be the value for find. Then you say +1. Why +1? We don't want to start from the open bracket. We want to start after the open bracket. That's why we say +1. And then the number of characters, like we said, we will need the length minus the find. Then you say -1. Why -1? We want to take out the bracket close, and then click OK. So it's going to be like this: mid A10. This M10 will be the find value +1. And then the number of characters, which is similar to the right function, the length minus the find, then you say -1. -1 because we want to take out the bracket close. This is the higher order question. It can be 7 marks. Please understand this, and I think you have access to this video. You watch it again, because you want only tracker. It is not at the end, neither is it at the beginning. Right. So that's all about text functions. The video will be available for you, and you'll be able to watch them. Right. Now, the next question will be lookup functions. I will summarize vertical or X lookup. Now, you can see this table here. I want to use X lookup first. Those of you who are using Office 2019 or 365, you can make use of X lookup. And if you are using the lower version, you can make use of V lookup. Let's say we are adding the cost for each budget here. Now, because the values are kept here, 1, 2, 3. So we use the island. Let's say we want to take only the budget values. Then you must give them separate names. Column A, you select, you right click, define name. You give it a name like A. Column B, you select, right click, define name, give it a name as B. So you come and use the X lookup function here. Equal sign X lookup. Equal sign X lookup. and then fx. The lookup array is the A, the return column is the B. Then the lookup value must be taken from the lookup array. Now you see the Bora Island and others. That means they are here. Bora Island, that's this one. And then the match mode, always say -1 when you're using X lookup. Unless it's giving error, then you use 1. Right. That's a simple X lookup. Now, if it were V lookup, that one you give these two names. You select, you right click and say define name. Let's say I'm giving name as D. Then you come and use VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP because it's vertical. VLOOKUP. Now VLOOKUP has the table array, that's the D. The lookup value is this one. Then the column index, we are taking from the second column, which contains the budget. You can see here, the second column. So that is 2. And the range lookup is always false, unless you give the wrong answer, then you say true. Right. So that's the difference between V and then H and X lookup. Now, when it is H lookup, you only see that this place here will be horizontal. Instead of vertical, it will be horizontal. Now, if it is horizontal, we use H lookup. If it is horizontal, H lookup. If it's vertical, we use V lookup. That's the difference between V and H lookup. But then you can use X lookup as an alternative to V or H. Then if in examination the question says like this one, use a suitable lookup function. So meaning you can use any lookup function. Right. Then again, there are other questions also that they will ask you. Use a VLOOKUP here. It says use a VLOOKUP. So you are not restricted. You can use a VLOOKUP or you can use X lookup because of this word here, A. It means you are not false. You are not restricted. Right. So let's also look at them. A VLOOKUP or any lookup function. You can use X lookup, or you can just use the specific VLOOKUP that the question says you must use. Now let's look at last year question paper. If there was any question about the lookup, we will solve it before we move to the next type of function called the date and time, which is November 2024. Let's check question 3. Then after that, we go to chat. We might end at spreadsheet, and then tomorrow we will start early with a database. Or if I still have time, I will still focus on, if I check and I still have time, I will still complete the database. Then I'll break them down into a smaller one. Right. So I'm going to look at the lookup functions. There was no lookup here. For last year, there was no lookup. It's only the if statement. That means that this year, lookup question is likely to be there. Last year, there was no lookup. There was date and time and if statement. So this year, definitely there's going to be a lookup function. There was spreadsheet feature, which is conditional formatting. Text function was also there. And then that contains T. So basically, so you have to watch out for that type of question, lookup functions Right. So X or VLOOKUP, don't forget to give them names before you do it. I wanted to get one question that I can solve regarding that lookup. Let me check 2023 November question paper. I think there was a lookup function. It seems the questions were not complete. Let me check again. All right. (2023) also, it seems there was no lookup function. So definitely, oh, there's a lookup here. 3.5. 3.5. It says insert a lookup function in F23 to display the name of the salesperson who sold the most cars. So here is a lookup function for 6 months. So let's look at it. 3 car sales. And I'm happy I picked up this question because it was an unusual question for 2023. Lookup function to display the name of the person who sold the most cars. So here the lookup value is the most cars. Most cars, that's the lookup value. And most means you use large or small max function. So first of all, we have to go to building block and find max, the one who sold most cars. So we go to building block and use large, or we can also use max. So large, and then total cars sold is this one. You select it. Then most is 1. So K is the largest. Now, when we have this, we can use the lookup function. And the answer should be in F23. Here is it. But then before that, we have to put the lookup name. Because we are going to display this one, we have to select this, which is the return, and this is the lookup values, lookup table. So we select here, you right click and choose define name and give it a name as A. Then you select the salesperson's, you right click, define name, you give it a name as B. Then we come and put the answer here, equal sign X lookup. So the lookup column or row is A, the return is B. And then the lookup value, the question said the most cars, so should be the one that we got here for large. Remember, we can also put it as a dollar sign, it's fine. Now, match mode -1. Then we click OK. So it's Susan. Right. We can also use another function, which is HLOOKUP. Why HLOOKUP? Because it is horizontal. But HLOOKUP, you have to select both the total cars and the salesperson, excluding the headings. You right click, define name, we give it a name as D. And then we come and use equal sign, HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP, and then the lookup table is D. Then the row that we are taking the value from is row 2. And then the lookup value is this 36. Then the lookup range is false. Lookup value is false, and then OK. Right, we got it also as Susan. So basically, you can use VLOOKUP, or you can use XLOOKUP. You can use any of them. So that is all about the lookup functions. Let's proceed to the date and time and the nested if. I know most of you are waiting for nested if, the if function, and the if with the logical functions. Right. I want to go to the date and time function or calculations, and then I will wrap up with the nested if. Right. So that's all for now. I'm going to look for the nested if function. I'll look for nested if function. This question, there was no nested if. That was 2022. Then let me look for 2024. I think there was a nested if question. We will check those ones with a nested if. Also, there was no nested if. Yes, here there's a nested if, which is 3 project, 2021 question paper, 3 project. Now it says, use a nested if function to display the following message. Notify if the project starts within 60 days from the current date, or star if the project starts after 60 days from the current date. Complete if the project has been completed. And when can we find that the project has been completed? It says within the next 60 days. That means when it is 60 days exactly. So here is when it is 60. And when it's after 60 days, not greater than 60. And then here, within the 60 days, when it is less than or equals to 60. So we need to break them down into the building block. I'm going to open 3 projects from 2021 question paper. Three projects. Right. Now, you can see that the question says there's a date of project in column E. Now, we are talking about 60 days. So meaning we have to find the days function here. We must use the days function with reference to the current date. So the current date is today. So we say equal sign today. Then we can autofill. Then we calculate the days. Equal sign days. And then the end date. The end date will be, you have the today's date, and then the date of the project. So the end date will be today's date. Then the start date will be the date of the project. So we got this date. Now, when you have this, we can now insert our if statement. The question says, when it is within the 60 days, that means that when it is less than 60 days, we put what we call, if it's less than 60 days, we put notify. If it is greater than 60 days, we put what we call star, and then complete when it is equals to 60 days. So we can now use our if statement here. If, because there are three conditions, we need to use only two if. So if the logical test, we are using the days in the building block. If this one is less than, or we can say greater than, that's after 60. And according to the question, when it's after 60, we put complete. After 60, we put star. Then value if false, we open another if with a bracket open. Go to the formula bar and then you click inside the bracket open and close. Then it gives you access to put another if. You repeat the steps. If this one is equals to 60, then we put within. That's when it is project has been completed. So that one will be complete. So the last statement, we don't put another if because there are three conditions. We only put notify. So because there are three conditions, we need to put only two if statements. So take note, the number of conditions minus one will determine the number of if statement that you need to use. So that is one way of solving if statement. There is also another if statement whereby we need to compare two columns. We need to compare two columns. For instance, if the question says, display a statement when the travel style is luxury, and then the amount here in column J, or the total group cost, is more than 5,000. So, meaning there are two conditions here. The first condition says when it is luxury and the group cost is more than 5,000. So because of and, we can use if together with and function to combine them. Right. They can also have or function to also combine. Now, what you need to do when you have that type of question, in the building block, you can use the and function, equal sign and function to put them together, all your conditions. And then logical text, you click on H10, must be equals to luxury. And then second one is the group total, which is K10, must be greater than 5,000. So you can have several conditions, you use and to combine them. When you are done, you come and put your if statement here. Equal sign if this value that we have here equals to true. Don't put true in inverted comma because that is answer. Then you must say yes. Otherwise, you leave it blank, meaning press space bar and then OK. Now, when I autofill here, all those that are true will say yes. So we use the logical text called AND to combine all your logical functions or all the conditions. And then after that, you come and use if statement here. Alternatively, you could have also used all functions instead of AND. You could have also said all function. It works like AND. So all function is also like AND. When the question say either, that means you use the all together with if statement to combine them. Right. We also have XOR and then we also have not. So like here, they could have just said n equals to n when it is not Lazarus. So I put less than and greater than, meaning not Lazarus. And then also, so I made a mistake here. When H10 is not Lazarus. And then this amount here is also greater than 5,000. So we can also use not, watch out for that, not, and then and then all together. So no matter how the question is, break it down in the building block, step by step, solve them in the building block, then you come and use if statement. You now come and use if statement. Then you now come and use if statement to combine it. Now, when you're using if statement, we use only the true one. If we are comparing this one in the building block. So if M10 equals to true, you do not put the true in inverted comma. You just say equals to true. Then the value if true, yes. Value if false, empty. So this type of questions, use building block to solve them. And I'm going to also show you an example of that type of question. I think one of the years, I think the June question papers, it should be 2023. Let me check the 2021 first. There was one question that talks about that. Like here, yes, it's 2023. 4.4. It says, the bank card has expired if the expiry date is before the date in H4. Use the donation type and then the expiry date. The word expired, if the bank card of a monthly sponsor has expired, and then remind if the bank card is still valid and the transaction will take place. Or a hashtag character if the card was used for a single donation, as he or she will not receive a message. So you can see that this question, you have to break it down in the building block. Otherwise, it's going to create a problem for you. Now, let's check that for donate. From 2022 June. For donate, I think it should be 2023. Let's check the question paper again. or DB 2021. That's NSC question paper. It's not the June one, it's this one. Let me check for donate. I can't find it here. Right. So now they gave you expiry date in column G. And then also the donation start date. And then we have the monthly also in column C. Now, the question says, we put expired if the bank card has expired of a monthly sponsor. So here, this should be monthly. That's the donation type. And then again, the expiry date. If the expiry date is before the date in column H or H4. So H4 is here. So when the expiry date is before this one, then we say it has expired. So we choose building block and break that one down. Equals to the expiry date should be less than the date in H4. Don't forget the H4 should have before we even put that one down, let's define name because every value here is comparing with that one. So we have to give it a name. You right click, define name. You can give it a name as A. Then you say equals to this one less than, before means less than that one. So it's a true. So we can autofill. So true means it is before the expiry date. Right, this is the current date. And you can see all these are before. Right. Then the next part says we put expired if the bank card is monthly and then the sponsor has expired. So here this type should be monthly also. Then we put remind if the bank card is monthly and is still valid and a transaction will take place. Now, where do you see transaction taking place? So we have the name, surname, and that one. Okay. So it's still valid. So transaction can take place. There's nothing called transaction should take place. So that means should be within. Valid means it shouldn't be less than. And then hashtag, if the card was used for a single donation and he or she will not receive a message. So here, these are the messages, expired and that. And then the others will not receive a message. So you have to always check the column that you are going to use. So we need only this part. Now we can now use our if statement. Equal sign if. Now, if it's expired, that means this one should be true. It should be before. So if this value here equals to true, remember we need a monthly, so you should use and also. Let me combine the expired one here. I must use and function to combine the two because there are two conditions here. It says monthly and then expired. That's when it is less than. So and function, this value here must be equal to true which is the expired, and the logical 2, the donation type should be equals to monthly. So we can also use it. So this one, when it is true here, it means expired. Then we also go and look for the next condition here. Remind, when it is monthly is still valid. That means it has not expired. That means when it is false and a transaction will take place. So meaning it is not false. So here will be and we are combining this. It is not expired means this one should be equal to false. Then this one should also be monthly. Right. So this is for the second, this is for the remind. And this one is for expired. Other than that, the last one says hashtag if the card was used for a single donation, as he or she will not receive a message. So here should be single donation. So here's the equal sign. This one must be equals to single. Right. So this one is only single when it is only for single. And these two conditions. So with this, we can use ifs to get our answer right. Equal sign ifs. Because we have been able to break them down. If this one equals to true, then it should be expired. Then also when this one equals to true, then we say remind. This one, when this one is single, don't forget you can have this and then you put a hashtag. So we got our answer. Alternatively, you can also put the hashtag, like here, this is false. So we break them down because this question was having, and there are two conditions for each. This one should be monthly, and then the expiry must be there. And then also, this one must be monthly, and then it should not be expired. That means it shouldn't be before, it should be greater than. Otherwise, we should put the hashtag. So you can use building block to solve it. Or we can also go straight. Those of you who like to solve it once, equal sign if, you can just go straight. And then we say if, then you compare because we are using this AND function. So you say AND, then you open bracket. You go inside the formula bar, click there. And when the expiry date is less than the value here, then the logical text, when this one equals to monthly. So we are done with the first condition. Then we go after the if. Then we say expired. Then we go to value if false. You start with another if, you open bracket. Go to the formula bar, click inside it. Again, we use AND. Now the question says monthly and then it's still valid. That means it has not expired. we go here. When this is equals to monthly, second one is when the expiry date, it is not less than, that means greater or equals to this one. That greater or equals to that. Then we go to that second if. Then we say, well, if true, remind. Otherwise, we put hashtag for all. Right, so we can just go straight and then we solve it once by using if and then the and function all together. Don't forget to, when you need to combine, you use and, then you click on that function also. Right, I know this one, and then you can watch it again, the nested if. Right, now let's move on to, somebody said November 2024, nested if. Let's check question 3, 2024. 3.4. They said 3.4. Let me check. Three point four is if statement, count ifs. It's not if statement, it's count ifs. Product have a delivery shipment and then a total of 1,000 or more. Question 4, let's check. Oh, yeah, 4.6. 4.6, yes. There was if statement in 4.6. That is 4 shows. Let's check that question 4.6. Now the question says, discount is given as follows. If the session is morning session, and you can see there's N here, the organization is a school, then 5% discount is given. If the organization is business, 3% is given, and then no discount for all other cases. So here, final cost is calculated by multiplying the cost per person with the number of people and then give a discount if applicable. So we have to first multiply the number by the cost per person. All right. So let's check which one should we use. Sheet 1. Cost per person times the number of people. That's the final cost. And then if discount is given, we give a discount. So we can have the cost per person and then the final cost in the building block by saying equals to the number of people times the cost per person. Then you press enter. So this is the first value that we are going to have. And then we come and use the if statement. Now they said a discount will be given if there's morning session and organization is school. So we are going to use if statement here, equal sign if, click on FX, then the logical text. If the session, this is the session, is equals to morning, so we can use N function. Then go to building block and click inside it. So when the session is equals to morning, then the second one says the organization is school. Where do we find the organization? That is column H. So the organization is also equals to school. Then you go and click just after the first if. Then we must calculate the 5% discount. Remember, discount is you subtract from 100%. So here will be, you open bracket, 100% minus 5%, close bracket, times this value given here. Or you can just say 95% times that. Then the value if false, you go there, open another if with the open bracket, go to that formula bar, click there, and then it says the organization is business. They didn't talk about the session. So you click on the organization equals to business. Then 3%, which is value if true, 100% minus 3%. You close bracket times this value. And the last one says no discount given in all other cases. So the value if false, there's no discount given, which is 100% times that value. No discount means 100%. And then click OK. There we go. So here there's no discount because it's private, and then there's no session here. There we go. So you have to break it down into these steps. Now, the last part of the functions will be date and time. Date and time calculations. Date and time calculations. Right. Now we have date here in column E. Now, if the question says find the number of days, we use days function. Equal sign, days. And then where it says the end date, you type today, open and close bracket. Start date, you click on this one. So this one will give you the number of days. Now, if the question says find the number of years or age, then you have to use year frec, equal sign, year frec. Or you can use year function. We have the start date. The start date will be this date. End date will be today. Don't forget to put open and close bracket. That's how we calculate the age. Or alternatively, you can say year function. Equal sign year. Year into bracket today. Then you go to the formula bar, say minus year, open bracket, the date given to you here. And you close it. So you can use the year function or you can use year frec function. Now, if they are talking about the number of months, since we have the years, you multiply by 12. If they are talking about the number of weeks, you convert it. So that's all about the year calculation and age calculation. The same applies to time. We have time here. Now, if let's say they wanted to find out the time after this one, maybe 3 hours, I will come to that. Now, what if the question says you are going to get your results in 4 months' time from this date? Calculate the date that you are going to get the results. So because the question is talking about the date, you have to use the building block to extract the year from the date given, and then you use the month function to extract the month from the date given, and then you use the day function to extract the day from the date given. Now, when you have all this, you now come and use the function called date equals sign date. Then where it says year, you click on that year. Where it says month, you click on the month. Where it says day, you click on the day. Now, if it says 3 months after the date given, you go to the month and say +3, and then okay. So this will be the new date. Remember, it's giving me number. I must go to number format and change it to date. So that will be the new date, 24th of February, 2025. Right. So that is all about this question about the date. Now the time also, they can give you maybe 3 hours from this time. Again, you must use equal sign hour to extract the hour from this time. And then use equal sign minute to extract the minute from this time. And then you use equal sign second to extract the second from this time. Then you come and use the function called time. Equal sign time. Where it says the hour, click on the hour given here, the minute, and the second. So if they say 4 hours before, you go to the hours, you say -4. Right. So if you say after, you say plus. So that's how we do the time also. Now, when you have time in and time out, and they want you to calculate the hours, you subtract the time out from the time in. Let's say I'm having another column here. And this one was 19 hours. Now I want the hours in between. I say equals to, you open bracket, time out minus the time in, you close, times 24. That's how we calculate the number of hours. The time out minus the time in times 24. Then you change it to number. So that's 2 hours in between. So that's how we calculate the hours, and you can convert it to minutes, then you multiply by 60. If you are converting to seconds, you multiply by 60 times 60. Right. So basically, that is all about this type of calculations. Now, we are wrapping up the spreadsheet, then we'll end the lesson here. Tomorrow, we will start a bit early to focus on database and HTML, the tips how to approach database and HTML. So I want you today to focus on spreadsheet, what we have done. Tomorrow, we will just start around maybe 3 or earlier than that so that you have enough time to study, maybe 3 or 2. I will communicate to you guys. Now, the graph is simple. There are so many things that you must do regarding graphs. I will just use one example to show you graphs. What kind of graphs? You must know the combo graphs and others. Right. Let's say, let me check any graph. I think there was a graph here, last year question paper. Now, let's say you have this graph. For pie chart, they can tell you to put the data labels. So when you click on them, You see chart element, data label, there's an arrow, more options. Then maybe they want percentages, you tick percentages. And they don't want values, you remove the values. They can ask you to change the legend or the series name, to put the series name also there. So that's the pie chart. The number format of the pie chart is just about this one, whether it's number, currency, or what, that's not a problem. Pie chart is just putting the percentages and this one, and then moving the legend. They can tell you to click on the legend, move it to the right or top right. Then they can tell you to pull out the bigger one portion. This is the bigger portion. You click on it twice. To select it only, you drag it. And they can tell you to fill in. When you go to fill, you see fill with a picture or vary by colors or slice, and gradient fill. Only that portion. They can tell you to choose different gradient fill, like the preset one, or the radii, or rectangular gradient fill, or choose different colors with the color positions. So watch out for that regarding pie chart. Now, what if I have pie chart, I want to convert it to bar graph? Now, when you right click on this one, you will see change chart type. Let's say we want to change it to column chart. Or line chart. Watch out for some of these charts. Finding one funnel. They have asked before, combo chart. And then also surface chart. They can ask that also. Right, so now let me change it to column chart with a 3D. Now with this column chart, let's say I don't want these labels, all these labels. I don't need the category names and others. Only the values. Now, they can ask you to change this one to move it to the top. When you click on it or you right click, you see format axis. You can change it category in reverse order. Stop that. Reverse order to move it so that now the bigger one, the one for meat is first. So if I take categories in reverse order, it changes to last position. Right. Also the labels, they can ask you to change it, the distance, label position to high, to move it to the top. Then again, regarding the filling, the vertical axis, the text direction, they can ask you to change it, rotate up. So always you select it, whether this one, you right click, you choose format axis, you will see them here. If they are talking about the axis, this one, X or Y axis, you right click, format it, you will see them. You can change the minor and then the major. Display unit, they can tell you to be maybe in thousands, so that thousands will be there. Or display unit to be hundreds. Right, so you must watch out for this type of arrangement. Again, they can also ask you to change them, like the grid lines. When you select the grid lines, you see chart element, grid lines. If you don't want the vertical grid lines, you can remove it. Then the legend, also moving them. And then we also have another type regarding this called the changing this series options. When you select the series, you right click and say format data point or data series. We have the data points. Then you will find different series, full pyramid, partial one, cylinder, full cone. They can ask you to change them. And then to fill also to vary by points, different colors, or border fill. So you must always right click and go to the options, then you'll be able to change them there. Right. Then we also have trend lines. Trend line is only applicable to, let me change the type of the trend line is only applicable to not 3D but 2D. That's when you see trend line with a 2-period trend line, or you can see more options to change the period. Right. Then they can also have markers, then they can tell you to change the cap if you don't want the round one to change them. So basically you must right click, you go to those options for graphs, whatever you do. Then we have combo graph. Let's say this is budget 2024, and we also have another budget, which is, let's say, 2025. So we have different values. Then we are creating a graph for them. Then you have to select both. Then the type of chart will be combo graph. It will not be just normal ones, it will be combo graph. So when you go to more, it's combo. Then you specify which one will be column and which one will be line. Let's say I want a 2025 to be line, and I want this one to be column. Then I click on the secondary axis so that I can have 2 axes. And then OK. So this is a combo graph with 2 axes. One is a line and one is a column. Then I can change these points. Display unit for this one to be thousands or 100, and this one should be different units. Right. So that is combo graph, combining them, and then you can see all the units and everything. So basically, this is what you must know regarding graphs. The combo graph, how to change them. You right click, select data, then you can change which ones you show. Or right click, change chart type, then you can choose which one should be secondary axis and which one should be line markers or what. So watch out for this type of graphs also. Right. So basically, that is all about spreadsheet. This is all about spreadsheet.